Welcome back to Norrath. We're of course starting off in Felwithe today because I have a few things I want to show you around here, and then later on we're going to head off across over to the other side of the world because there's some things I want to show you over there. And of course, as you've seen in the title of the video, there's also a special announcement because today I'm announcing the full terrain release version 1.0 for Bedrock. Yes, that's right, everyone playing on their PS4s, and I don't know if you can get this on mobile. I mean, the file size is rather large, but at long last I have made a successful port of the file to Bedrock, so you will be able to download that today. And I will also do some recording in Bedrock to show it to you. But before we get on to that, let's look around what I've done here in Felwithe. As you can see, I finally started filling in what I've been talking about doing, which is the foundations for all the other buildings that go around here. I've done this completely in central Felwithe. Of course, these aren't going to be just one level. I'm starting off with the ground floor here, and from there they'll eventually get extended up like all these other buildings are around here. I have done a couple over here in the docks area, just one little one over here, and several other ones over here as well. And I've also done some more of those over in the entrance area over here out front of the Paladin Guild on the various tiers we have around here. Let me give you a good look at these. We have some houses that are going to go in up here. They'll eventually have interiors and everything. And of course roofs, as soon as I decide the final height and design. The roof will be the last thing I add, but as you know, all the roofs around here are pre-constructed, so it won't be too difficult. And on the sides here, we have some smaller buildings going in around here, and they're going to mesh in with the walls and the rock platforms around here. And there are all sorts of different shapes and sizes around here, so it's going to look pretty neat, I think. But this is going to be a more longer term thing to do because this is all sort of fine detail work, which means it's going to be rather slow and take a while. But with that said, I think there's one more thing I want to show you around here before we do go, which is I have updated the final form up here of the cloud vortex over the tendrils of the mana pool that come up here in the sky. This of course ends at the build limit, which is the highest you can go. And it's made up of various layers of stained glass. It's made completely of stained glass, by the way. It's just made up of different colors. Let's go up here and give you a good look at it. But it's got different layers superimposed over each other to give it a sort of turbulent cloud effect, because we have all the colors down here, and then above that we've got the more white stained glass over the top of that. And of course we can see very clearly through it. Of course, with all this glass and the shaders with the pressures of recording and everything, this is giving my computer quite a run for its money. I don't think the frame rate around here is as smooth as I would like it to be. But I had to allocate a full 16 gigabytes of RAM. Yes, you heard that correctly. 16 gigabytes of RAM to Minecraft to make this work. Of course, when you download this, you won't be running shaders and recording yourself, so you shouldn't have a problem with it. But I do think it looks rather nice. Let's actually land down here in front of the Enchanters Guild and take a look. We have our calm water down here. The tendrils of the mana pool going up like that, and it makes a very pleasing pattern up there, I think. I think I got the size of this just about right. It's definitely one of the more impressive features that's going to be in Norrath, I think. But I think this is going to be something we will reserve for the next download version 1.2, which is not the Bedrock version download, by the way. This is the Java version. And I think it's been a couple of months since version 1.1 came out with Freeport, and we are kind of far enough along to think about doing version 1.2, which is going to include Felwithe here. I think that would be quite nice to do. But I think that will probably be in a couple of videos from now. So I'm just teasing you with that today. And I'll go ahead and say I have also experimented with doing a Bedrock version that's going to include all this, except there were some problems with that, mostly with the redstone. Because the doors that I use, you know, those 3x3 piston doors that I use everywhere in the world here, they don't work in Bedrock, which is rather surprising. That would mean hundreds of doors would end up being broken, which wouldn't be very good. However, with all that said and showing you the updates around here on Felwithe, it's time to get to the meat of the video. I want to show you what we're going to be doing in the future. So just as a refresher, here is the world map of Norrath. This is the map base I used when I started to trace out and terraform all the continents a few years ago. As you can see here, it's got the world of Norrath up here, and it's an EverQuest, and it goes all the way up to Velius, which was the second expansion for the game. But let's zoom in a little and see where we have been at. For the past couple of months, we have been up here at the continent of Trydar, the Greater Trydar, building the high elven city of Felwithe, or Felwithe, however you wish to pronounce that. And we are, of course, going to be leaving the city today. We are traveling across the continent. Actually, we're just going down here to the Wizard Spires. But if we wanted to go the long way, we would be going this way and visiting Freeport again, going across the continent of Antonica to the city of Buenos, which is currently not built. That's another future city project. We'd be taking a boat from there and going all the way over to the continent of Odus here, to the high city of Erudin itself, which, as you can see, it's built on top of a large plateau here. This is going to be all farmland and everything. To the south, we have the Vasty Deep, which is the Deepwater Lake, named after the Deepwater Knights, of course. And south of that, we have the Stonebrent Mountains, the Toxili Forest, Kara Island, and the Hole down here, which has the sort of dark or evil erudite city of Payneal down here on the crater rim, which is where we're going to be building that eventually. But the thumbnail for this video is actually going to be the hole itself down here, because I want to show you what I've been doing over there. But the next long-term project we are going to be doing is building the high city of Erudin itself. And of course, even longer term, we're going to be building all the other cities in the world. So here we are in the Bedrock version of Minecraft. For those of you that don't know, there are two versions. There is the Java version. And what is that sound? Goodness. That's different. Anyway, there are, as I said, two versions. There's the Java and the Bedrock version. The Java one is the original one you can play on PC. And the Bedrock version is made for things like consoles and PlayStation 4 and it used to be called the mobile version, or the pocket version, but these days it's called Bedrock. And I've finally managed to figure out how to make a port from Java to Bedrock, so I have done that with the entire world of Norrath. And as you can see here, this is what we started out with in Freeport many months ago. We just had the sign here. For those of you that have downloaded the terrain before in Java, this will look fairly familiar. But this is where the city of Freeport was constructed. Let's actually take a look around here and see what's going to be different in the Bedrock version to the Java version. I don't know this version fairly well, but the textures do appear to be somewhat different. The torch in my right hand moves somewhat differently too. That's rather fun. And as we look out, one of the things I immediately notice is that the render distance in Bedrock is really far away. I mean, I wish the Java version would render this far without your computer popping up and dying all over itself. It does, however, seem to have a low quality threshold to it because it's rendering all the grass out to what would be about the normal level in Java, but we can see quite a bit further away from that. I think we can almost see all the way. How far is that going to render in? Goodness, so we can see all the way from Freeport to the other side of the common lands over there. That's pretty neat. And let's actually go over here and see how far we can see in the southern desert of Row. I can already tell that we can see the entirety of North Row. See the coast over here and the roads going through it. Now the little custom cacti I put down there. And we can see almost to the river there on the southern desert of Row over there. We can also see the oasis of Mar, probably. If I stopped here and gave it a moment to load in, let's see how far it goes. Okay, so we can see the oasis of Mar, which is over there, most of the river, all of the common lands over here. You can see the area we put our aqueduct through. And we can see quite a lot of the Stonebrunt mountain range. No, not the Stonebrunt, the Serpent Spine mountain range over here. I really like how that water looks. I mean, I don't have shaders enabled on this, unfortunately. This will probably eventually, someday, I hope to get working with the ray tracing RTX stuff you've probably seen around for Minecraft, but unfortunately that graphics card is insanely expensive. And I just cannot afford to buy one at the present moment. Maybe one day, if my YouTube channel gets big enough, I can have the funds to do things like that. But for the meantime, we will have to content ourselves with the default lighting we have going on here. However, as I was about to remark, the water looks a very pleasing and mottled shade of blue down there. It's quite pleasing, actually. It makes it look very vivid. We can see our river going through the mountains over here. It almost makes me want to do another full tour video of Norrath, but I will leave that up to you people who have the Bedrock version to explore this for yourself. I'm sure you're going to be quite eager to do that. We have the area of the Misty Thicket and Rivervale down over here, which is going to be the halfling area. We'll be building a city in those hills someday. We have up here more rivers going up to the frigid plain up there. We have this lake over here, which will take us up to the Nectalos Forest, and I just have to go up here and take a look at Lava Storm. I want to see what this is going to look like. It'd be pretty neat. We're going to be building the Dark Elven city of Norrath down below that peak over there. Pause here and let everything load in for a minute. I think that goes almost all the way to the coast over here. The Nectalos Forest is quite large. But if we go in over here, we can see that the volcanic ash from the Lava Storm Mountains here is spilling out and covering some of the grass here. And let's land here. Take a look at what we got going on around here. We have our lava lake, of course, with our spikes sticking up out of the lava. We have our active volcano here, spewing out lava on its side here to refill everything. We can go up here and take a good look at the northern tundra island region I built up here to the north. course, we can't really see below the water here. That's kind of a bummer. We can see the frigid plain coming into view over there, as well as some of the northern Halasian mountains over there. And how much further south can we see that we've been? See all the way back down to the lake and everything over here too. It's pretty neat. I actually like the Bedrock version in some ways, especially the render distance. That's quite nice. It's definitely more responsive than the Java version, I would say. I think as far as the code base goes, it's actually a newer version, so it makes sense that it should run better. But its main failing for me, of course, is that it does not have an editor. Like MCEdit, and all of my tools will not work on it. So I would be reduced to building block by block in creative in this, which is a non-starter because it would take the rest of my life to finish the map at that rate, and that's just not going to happen. But for those of you that want a good world to use in Bedrock, I of course present to you today the full download for version 1.0, which is of course just the terrain. There are no buildings in this version of the world of Norrath from EverQuest. And for those of you that do choose to download it, do leave a comment and let me know what you think about the world. I'm highly interested to hear what people are going to be doing with it. In fact, let's actually have a night vision potion because I want to see what I can see below the water here. Okay, that didn't work out quite like I thought it would. I see how they optimized this though. In order to get the farther render distance, they've lowered the detail the farther you get out on it. But if we drink a night vision, we can see below the water here. We can see some of the extensive kelp forest that I've laid down here. And further south, we should be seeing some warm coral type biomes come into existence here. This is of course updated from a 1.12 version, but this is a fully compatible 1.13 plus version for Bedrock, so you will have pretty much everything you need in it. Let's actually dip below the water here. Well, it's not very visible down here. I do like all the water splashing sounds I'm making. Look at the fish. Goodness, we have schools of fish around here. I never play in anything more than 1.12 usually, so this is all kind of new to me. But someday, if we can get an updated version of an editor to replace MCEdit, I'm confident that one day I will be able to update the versions for more complete building and everything. But at the moment, that's not a thing that looks to be fairly on the horizon, so it's going to be quite a while. But I just wanted to give you a sneak peek of the Bedrock version because I know some of you out there have been asking for this, and it's taken a while, but I finally managed to make a successful port of the world, as you can see here. But I just wanted to hop into this today to show you that I do indeed have a fully compatible and full-featured Bedrock map for you to download of Norrath. And while I can't promise in the future that there will be ones with buildings on it, I imagine at some point there will be, but for the meantime, the buildings are going to be limited to the Java version. But for those of you that want to have a good and large long-term world to build various things in, you can download this map and do that. Because I know many of you have been asking for this for a long time, so here it is. And I hope you enjoy it, and I think the spider back there seems to approve. But let me know what you think about it, and I will see you back in the other world. So with that said, we are going to be leaving Felwithe behind today, and for a little while. we're going to be heading over to the continent of Odus, which we are on the continent of Trydar at the moment here. And to leave, we want to go out from the gates here and follow these lanterns that I put along the roadway here, which are sort of like a breadcrumb trail, because the greater Bedrock here is rather large and easily get lost in it with all these roads I have going through it. But if you follow the lanterns here, they have the distinctive high elf style to them, and they will lead you all the way over here to, we can see in the distance now, the Wizard Spires, which is the primary way to get around the world of Norrath anyway. There are the Druid portals as well, but I prefer to use the Wizard portals whenever I can. So, if we land here, we want to go here to Odus. So with that, we will hit the button and immediately be teleported all the way over to the Togzulia Forest, which, like Greater Bedrock, is a rather large forest made with large trees, except the trees here are of a different type, and they're also some of my favorite trees. And they look really nice from the ground floor, looking up into the canopy and everything here. And over here in the distance, we can see the peaks of the Stone-Brunt Mountains sticking out from the forest over here. And if we turn south a little, which I want to do, we'll have a little lake here. A little island down there. It'd be a nice place to build a house or a base around here, I think. And over there is going to be the entrance to the Dungeon of the Warrens, whenever I get around to building that. But as we go further south, we will see the trees get a little bit smaller, and they thin out and transition into a different type of deciduous and evergreen tree forest entirely, which is because over here is going to be the hole, which I pointed out on the map I showed you earlier. But I haven't shown this on camera yet in a video. I put it on Instagram. It did rather well in terms of likes on there, but I want to show it in this video so I can make it the thumbnail for this. And this is going to be someday probably on the walls of the craters up here on the southern rim, where we will be building the semi-evil Erudin city of Painil, which we're going to do probably in a Roman style to resemble what we're going to be doing with Erudin. But I haven't put a vortex on the top of this yet. I'm thinking about doing another vortex up here, but I want to do a bit of a different style of vortex than what we have going on in Felwithe. And as we land down here on the hardened obsidian crater floor here, we take a look down here and we have a misty glass effect going on here with interesting arcane tendrils emanating out of the large rift in the surface here. I'm not exactly sure what's on the other side of this rift, and I believe I don't want to find out. It'll probably be pretty bad. But that's what happens when you have an ancient war several hundred years ago that results in a massive arcane explosion of raw energy and mana. You get a giant crater here that's, as you can see, it's torn into the very foundation and strata of the crust of the planet of Norrath here. And we can see all the sedimentary layers below the mountains here. A good use of the mesa texture, if I do say so myself. I think one of the things I want to try and maybe get some swirling clouds around here again also, but I want to have some random lightning bolts. If I can figure out how to do those. I have some drawings and ideas for that, but that's going to be quite a while before we get around to doing that. But I want to introduce you to this area down here, because this goes all the way from 0 to build height. Up here is the full limit of what you're seeing here. And if you have any ideas about what we could put around here, do let me know. I definitely think on the southern rim around here, we are going to be building the city, as I said. But that's a longer term city, because the city I actually want to show you today is we will turn north and head across the Togzulia forest. Let's go actually along the coast here, so I can show you Kara Island over here, which is a lush tropical island, which is the home of the Karen civilization. They're sort of like cat people. But they're very nice cat people, as long as you don't rub their fur the wrong way. And they're rather primitive, though. We will have various villages made around here of maybe straw huts and various tropical things. They're a rather simple and very kindly folk. They're not at all like the Bashir, which of course are descended from the Karens, because the reason the Karens got to the moon in the first place, for those of you that know EverQuest, is because a chunk of Kara Island was blown off in the giant explosion up there, which landed all the way on the moon several hundred years ago. But that is a tale for another time, because in the future we will definitely be adding the terrain and moon of Luckland to our map here. But that's something we will be doing probably several months in the future, I would think. As soon as I finish some projects I'm working on, I want to more formally announce that, but I'm just making the allusion to it here in the video. Of course, now we are on the northern side of the Togzulia forest, and we are up here on the Grand Plateau, which, as you'll remember, outside of the city of Freeport in the Common Lands, we had farm fields, and that is what is going to be up here. More farm fields and various houses and everything. I want to go along the coast here real quick and show you the broken areas where the high plateau here, it's at the level of about 100 blocks up. And the sea is, of course, 40 blocks lower. And we've got some sandy islands down here. And the coast itself, as you can see, is being slowly eroded into the sea down here. And it's made several interesting features and everything. Go along the coast here a little bit further. And we will get to the meat of what I want to show you today, which is going to be... Here it is, coming into view. This is going to be the big flat area where we will start building the third major city project that we are starting in the world of Norrath here, which is going to be the High City of Erudin, which is, of course, the home of the Erudites, or Erudites, however you wish to say that. And we are going to be doing this large city here. Going to be about the size of Freeport, maybe a little smaller or larger depending, but it is going to be done in a grand Roman style, which is one of the reasons I've been making so many Roman tutorials, because all those buildings and everything are going to end up here. As you can see, we're going to have our Roman walls perched on the side of the cliffs here on the north, and then we have the fertile plain stretching over there to the west. And we have our docks area that we're going to have down here from the east. And stretching off in that direction far away is the city of Freeport and Antonica, and even further away, all the way on the other side of the world, is Felwithe, which we started at today. And down here we have some roads and some terrain down here. We have the deep water lake down here to the south a little bit. This is a very large freshwater lake. And it's bordered by the Stonebrut Mountains here on the west and some hills over here on the east. And in EverQuest, this is the home of the Deepwater Knights. And they are the main paladin faction that's going to be in Erudin. Because as you can tell, we're going to be building another paladin guild, of course. And let me walk over here, give you a good view of the Stonebrut Mountains themselves. And fly through here just a little bit. These are some of the first mountains I built in my Norrath map when I was putting it together. And they were rather difficult to terraform, but I think they've come out to be some of the nicest looking mountains in all of the map, I think. And they stretch off much further to the south than this, but we have, of course, a road going through the valleys here. See that down there, and it will be coming up all the way to one of the gates here that we're going to be adding up here in the high city of Erudin. You can see one of the roads that will be entering a gate down here, and we'll have gates over here, and you can see that we're going to have a regular layout of the walls here. And they'll be up against the mountains and the terrain and the woodland to the south over here. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode and are excited to begin building the high city of Erudin. Also, don't forget the direct download for the Bedrock version is linked below. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I will see you next time.